Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. This is Workers and Resources Soviet Republic Let's Play, and basically I am going to do a new game, a random map, realistic mode. I even set things a little bit harder. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't call it not realistic by setting so you can do that. One other little thing that doesn't really alter whether you're playing realistic mode or not. I think you'd still get a badge or achievement if those are built into the game eventually for this. Of course, don't build anything. The rest I keep the same. I just change the amount of lakes and hills so that you can be a little less besmirched by them. There's still mountains. They still pop up. On average, you want to be looking at a situation where you're close to both the Soviet and NATO border. And here we go. Probably I should set my details down a little bit. It's hard on the toolage, hard on machinery apparently. This is a good map. It's got 3. 3's average. 4 is good. 5 is great. Because we're doing a Let's Play, we will start by basically going to check out the borders. Oh, also, we'll stop the time. You need to check the borders before you decide to do anything. And the reason for that is you're looking for a electrical, and that's not actually at every border crossing. When you're deciding your starting location, exactly, see, there's no electrical output at elements cut. So it would be actually quite a ways before you'd be able to see power Senakova. You'd be all the way to Polachevko before you'd be getting any electricity. So your alternative is literally another corner. Let's go look over here. Yes, we have electricity. And no, we don't there, but we do here. So this is probably our best option for, I would say, making what I call an intersection town. And the reason that you want to make an intersection town is because in Workers and Resources, in realistic mode especially, is these numbers up here are very important. That's how much money you've got to spend on your republic, your dream republic. You can borrow money, which I'll get to at a later state of the game. But for now, I'm just going to start any republic by building a couple of mud roads. And mud roads are free. There's a couple of free things in Workers and Resources that even on realistic mode you can build pretty much willy-nilly. And it doesn't cost you anything. And basically, oh, here. I'm just going to show you one more thing that I think that most people don't know what's going on. You take for granted. If you zoom in right basically to the maximum, not quite the maximum, but you zoom in really close, you can basically see how far on or off-centered your camera is or how square you are with the Worker Resources map, therefore how square you are with the world. you click here and just basically start dragging down and keeping your mouse in the middle of the screen. Also, I believe if you hit the shift key on the keyboard, you can go a lot faster, like that. And I think this is long enough. So that is our road into the country from the NATO side. And of course, communist or not, you want to be here. Maybe both. I'll show you why in a minute. And we are basically going to go. Dog. People great. You gotta hold it in the morning. I'm done. The morning I'm supposed to go to bed. I have a dog, so if I ever start ranting, it's not at a ghost, it's at my dog. And I rant at him actually quite a bit. So if you are watching this Let's Play and you hear me start ranting insanely, there is a reason for it. Just it might not make much sense to you as the viewer. At any rate, the idea here is that eventually you will create a crossroads with the West. And this costs me absolutely nothing. Okay? So building mud roads is free. You do want to here. I've always found it useful just to keep a real good distance between the border and anything that you do. Build. There are reasons. Rail, at any rate, we aren't going to get into rail at all. This is just simply how to get yourself into a situation where you can even contemplate building pretty much anything. The workers and resources realistic mode allows you to basically start a construction company. And when you start that construction company, it basically means buying a lot of vehicles. Come on now, come on now. I don't know why it does this sometimes. Basically, no matter what the situation, you'll definitely want to have a crossroads. Partly because I'm a big fan of blues. And when you want to do anything, you gotta go down to the crossroads. You get down on your knees. So, that being said, this is pretty much a universal configuration. You can do this with almost any of the resources. Map. And the way that I do things to save money, because I'm always trying to save money, even in video games, is this is important at the crossroads. I'll just actually point this out. You notice me kind of futzing with that other. You'll do some futzing in workers and resources. It's unavoidable. It's gotten better as the game has progressed and proceeded. But you basically want to end up with like a micro traffic circle at the crossroads of the four roads. And the reason I kind of way to build stuff. So that's obviously way too much stuff. You won't need anything for this, but you just want to actually lay things out in advance. The reason I like it laid out in advance like that is so that your direction is square and straight in the future. It kind of provides a guide for you. That initial, when I check the screen against the top border, it's no joke. It literally squares your entire republic. And you can use any road that you squared that off of as a guide to see whether you're still square on your rotation or not. I rarely touch my rotate button. When I do, I always go back to the top of the screen and square myself off, or a squared road, a non-squared road. So, let's get started. So I've done this a few times as a dry run. Sure, let's get started by putting a gas station down. And a free gas station down. This is important. You have free gas stations. Generally, the way that you're going to go with your gas station setup is that you want one at every area. You don't have to have it at every border area. Like, this is kind of, because it's random, that's really too close border towns. It's supplied with workers. And so you'll see in a minute what I mean by that. And I will say it with like a gleeful malicious. Yes, workers. So basically, this is your initial lean gas grow setup, and I think that it would be wise just to add one more as you can. You'll never use all the free ones, but the entire point of what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to teach a man how to fish, because this is an intimidating game. I'm not going to lie. This is up there. Complexity factor. You'll see what I mean as I basically go about building an entire city, and the plumbing, and the water supply, and the electrical supply. And I think it would basically make most gamers that don't play city builders on the regular run in terror. If you played City Skylines and thought, wow, that was a challenge, this is not a game for you. If you walked away from City Skylines thinking, if you walked away from City Skylines thinking, I wish it was more complicated and detailed, and this might be something you will enjoy. I mean, forget about the communism factor, just the amount of detail that they let you play with on a realistic level is phenomenal for a game. I've been wishing that city builders were not dumped down and were indeed this complex for a long time. I'm going to build myself some small distribution, no, not small, free distribution offices. And you don't want to put your distribution offices, you don't want to be like busy. They're just a place to be kept apart and not doing stuff. I put all of mine at the crossroads. I'll go 5. I'll set them up in a minute, but first we'll just do the 2 pre-open storages. You can do 4, but I don't really think it's all that necessary. So if you're gonna go about like, how do I put it, breaking up the road into road sections, which you do every time you place a building, and you'll see why that's important when I try to pave this later, if I try to pave this area in particular, or not later. So I'm only going to put down 2 open storages. I'm going to use 3 aggregate storage. And I am going to put down a whole bunch of also, let us use free construction offices. So I'm going to ignore my own damned advice and just I don't know. Sure. This is going to take a long time to pay this. You don't want to be breaking up. I've seen other guys be really super clean about their builds. I got like a wonky mouse. I don't know why. It's a Microsoft Blue Track, and it's crap. I'll never buy another Microsoft mouse again. Better mouse makers out there. I always had a thing for Logitech mouse. Because they don't shake and shimmy when you're trying to lay down construction yards. Yet as soon as I stop, it's perfectly. You see that? I'm not trying to lay anything down. It's perfectly. I moved that there. See? Anyway, whatever the deal is, I don't like this mouse. I have better mice. I shall find them one day. And put them to use. So basically, here's your universal setup. You need open storage. You need an aggregate storage. You need a depot. You need a fuel station. And you need all your distribution centers. And the very first thing that I'm going to buy is the fuel truck. So, and you're going to buy it with rules. So if you go over to the oil tank, that's what I mean. This game is intimidating. There's just a lot of stuff in it. And a lot of it is specific, and you need to do specific things with those things. Here's a great example. Right? So I'm going to get that, and that will show me this. So as soon as I have this vehicle, okay, I don't know whether or not it has to come to this depot or not, but you can basically just assign a line to it. So let's start the game in insane mode by showing you some insane stuff. We're going to create a new line, and it's going to be a road line. And create a custom line. The line itself, the line itself comes up over here. Immediately that stops that line. Okay, so I think that we have more rubles than anything else. This is the closest one. Please go there. And I'm going to tell it to stop here. I'm going to tell it to stop here. Oh, wait, that was actually wrong. So you need to do this. You need to do, because it's going to empty itself into those gas stations. Okay. I want it to go back again and do that one twice. And then I'm going to get it to, this is why lines are important, is because instead of just using a distribution office, which you can do, but with certain vehicles, if you're allowed to use a line, use lines. They tell you in the game tips when it's loading, use the lines, so use the lines. I'm going to get it to load there, I'm going to get it to unload there, and that should get me started. Now, once this is done, and it'll show you the line, right? Once this is done, and this is usually the thing, also another thing that I'm doing right now is I am playing against the clock, okay? I don't like it being 1967 and you're finally being able to build something, so I've been working out how to basically get yourself functional as quickly as possible. And you'll see what I mean in a minute now. I'm just going to hit the space bar because I want that vehicle. And here, sorry, I forgot. You do need to tell it, eh? Wait until loaded. And the vehicle itself, you can set up. Fuel, carry on the fuel. So when you're doing lines, it's important to tell it when it goes to the customs house that it can only carry fuel. That's what I mean. The game's learning factor is just off the hook. You need to learn these little things, and in order to make things work in this game, you literally have to set everything up. It's carrying 13 tons of fuel, and it's going to a gas station. So it's going to unload everything. Load. It's I don't want it to unload. I only want it to load. Make sure when you're at a customs house that you're only loading stuff at the beginning of the game. You won't be unloading anything for a long, long time. In realistic mode. This is going to take time to get things built. Customs house. This customs house, just to check it. And also, like, yeah, wait until you load it. Usually it needs to be loaded, but I don't know why. Maybe in older versions it was more important. But basically, here's your line, and it's set up to. Oh, I'm trying to edit the line. I shouldn't be doing that. We want to. Oh, sorry, I missed that. We have to add a line to the vehicle. That's the last step, and don't forget to do that. We are going to rename the line. You're going to save everything. And then with this, just make sure, because I did check it, it's not carrying anything right now. So you have to send it back to... How do you get that to do it? It wants to head to the road depot, but we don't want it to do that. Cancel go to depot. Okay. So when hey, I learn something every day. I guess that its initial order is to cancel, is to go to the depot, and I just canceled that. So it needs to go to the customs house, and we'll see if it does that. Oh wait, we'll just do this. It needs a place to turn around, and it doesn't need much. It just needs that. So let's give it that. It'll turn around. No. Boom. There she goes. And this is one of the only things that you really need to micromanage at the beginning of the game is this damn fuel truck, because as soon as you order up all the vehicles that you're going to need, they're going to need fuel. And they'll go to the nearest gas station, and that will probably be the one nearest to the construction yards, and they'll get slammed. So, get loaded up, it's like yoink. Thanks for the gas. It itself doesn't have a lot of gas in it, the fuel in it. And so it should go here. Yeah, Miatis. The computer auto names everything in this game. Ah! There's some buggers that can bite me. And it goes into the gas station. And it unloads itself. Now, this is important. It's going to pull out of here. Hopefully it'll be like, hey, I'm out of gas. And if you click the truck, let's see, go, boom, okay, it starts right here. So it doesn't even have enough fuel itself to start the game. So I've played a few different ways using distribution yards and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, this is a little complicated. It's a good shock welcome to this is not your usual city builder. This is worker and resource Soviet Republic. And big shout out to the guys who've been making this game. I've been following it and playing it off and on since it was put into early access on Steam. And as it closes in on basically its finished state, I decided I'd come back to it and check it out. And they have done a lot of stuff in the last 2 years to this game that I haven't been playing it. I actually literally stopped playing this game because I saw how much they were doing to the game and how much they wanted to do to the game, and I figured that they would be successful. And they had a good roadmap, and they want us to follow that roadmap. And I'm very impressed with 3 Division and their beautiful game that they've made. So basically, you don't want to do anything yet. Now, this is important when you're, especially when you're starting the game. You could go buy a whole bunch of vehicles right now, but then you might run into a weird issue insofar as you may or may not be able to get your fuel truck back to where it needs to go to get fuel. I'm going to speed this up. And yeehaw, now we're going at like 2 times faster on my machine. With my desktop, should I ever get it working again and recording on that thing again, then we will have faster gameplay. But for now, this is pretty good. My laptop doesn't suck. So, but it's doing a lot right now. It's pulling OBS, it's recording video, it's recording a webcam. So basically the fuel truck is the linchpin for everything. I know it sounds insane, but it's true. Okay, and it's going to go back to the activities. And then it's going to come back here and it's going to unload the tank again. And I'm always interested in little minutiae, crap like this. I have to remember workers and resources isn't a poop talking game, so I'll try to keep my language civilized here. There are many younger players out there that are trying to learn how to play this game, so might loosen that rule up in future videos. But for my Let's Play video, no. This should be viewable by anybody. At any rate, there she goes. She's back to the border. Almost there. There she is. Like the first hour of playing this game is slow. So, I don't know what else to tell you. First hour of playing this game could be a little tedious and slow. On realistic mode, but hey, you're like realistic, right? So it's not going to be like the candy fueled adrenaline rush that is City Skylines in comparison to this. So it's got another load. If you want to, you can buy 2 fuel trucks, but it's a waste of resources. I know time is also money, but still, I refuse to buy 2 fuel trucks. Not gonna happen. You only need 1. It will keep everything running hunky-dory for a long, long time. You don't need a lot of fuel. The fuel stations hold 20 tons of fuel. The big, hugest trucks will suck up like a ton of fuel. But, so that's like 20 of them you can feed once it's full. So as soon as this guy drops off fuel, I'll start buying stuff, and excitement will begin. Oh yes. I've watched a few other players out there and how they've gone about it. Big shout out to B-Ball Joe. I have learned a lot from that guy. He is an exceptionally good player. I'm making this video because I feel that there isn't anything out there that's approachable to, hey, how do you get started in realistic mode? This is it. So basically, I'm going to hit pause again. Yes, my truck went up, is going up that way. He's going to go fill up that fuel station up there. This will be important for later. But for right now, and what we're trying to do, you want to do this. And I'll be a little specific. So basically, the most important things here are the gas station, which is a liquid. And this is how I'm going to describe it. There's the two open storages, and they need set up actually before you do anything. Start by setting up your storage yards. Your open storage for aggregates, you are only going to need gravel. Anything else you can buy at the border. The only reason I'm having any storage yards, I'll be clear about this too, is the only reason you need any storage yards at all is because it can be more efficient at times to haul stuff out of your storage yards instead of taking things from the border. So I think longer term this is more efficient. So you set things up, generally you'll set things up as like a quote-unquote high value, low value yard, right? So you want your prefab panels and your steel in this yard, okay? And you will rename it. And this is important in this game. You can't just leave things unnamed. We'll call this steel panel P steel panel open. We're going to delete all this stuff later, most likely, so you don't need to be too fastidious about your naming, just so long as when you point things, you know what's going on. Open, and we're going to rename this one the old pit. You'll see why we've done this in just a second. You do this first. You absolutely do this first. When you do the distribution, what you're doing here is you're basically setting up automated lines. So the line I set up with the oil tanker, I recommend doing it that way with that one vehicle right at the beginning, not just to learn how to do the line, but also to avoid, like I said, there's just a couple of weird traps involving fuel in realistic mode at the very beginning, and where you'll run out of fuel, and then possible that your truck runs out of fuel, which means that you have to buy a new fuel truck. Which is always a pain. It's happened even when I've tried doing things this way. Lines generally work best. What's going to happen is that truck is going to go and it's going to load up and it's going to keep unloading stuff until it runs out. It'll just keep going. Whereas a distribution office kind of does things a little bit more intelligently. It will, for example, add a new connection, and we're going to tell it to go to the border. And we're going to tell it to go here, and then here. And it will intelligently, once I've gotten trucks for it, load those up, and when they drop below 80% capacity, it'll try its best to keep them filled. And you have to be more specific about it. So with this one, we're going to do open storage. So we'll rename this open district 1, and we're going to hit buy some vehicles. We want open hauls for this one, and I checked them all out. I think that as you get things more paved, it's important to have things that can kind of keep up with that. There's some really slow ones, like this one will do 60 kilometers an hour. This one is 70, which might not sound like a huge bump, but I mean, compared to everything else, yeah. So if you're just going to be hauling materials and you don't need to worry about, we'll get into some technicalities later, any technicalities, You can just go with the T138 open. It's a little pricey, but it gets the job done. You know, 3 of those bad boys, and when they get here, I'm gonna hit unpause. Let me see. No, they have to get to the construction yard first. They have to get to the yard first before anything. So that's good. At least we know what's happening. We're doing this. Aggregate distro. Aggregate. Close enough. Like I said, we're deleting these anyways. If you're one of those typo peoples on the internet, leave me alone, man. I'm doing my best. We have a connection. So the aggregate distribution, once again, that's our closest border town. We want to spend rubles. Let's do it. We need to point it at the gravel storage. And you don't want more than one of these at any given time. It's tempting. It really is tempting, especially when you start that first project. But there's just a certain build order that I found to be almost necessary. And you just want to make sure it's unload. 80% I find is the good number. If anything goes below 80%, it'll send to the truck by the time they've actually sucked back any resources. Yeah, so we want to do dumpers in this construction, and because we're a little bit of a distance from the border, we will go with, the reason we're going to, especially early game, you want to go with these. You can sell them later. They're super expensive, but they do 24 tons. You can't go any faster than 35 kilometers an hour on a mud road, and we're not going to upgrade the roads. Not for a while. Not for a long while. I have some play differences with some of the other players that are putting videos online in this game. This is one of them. So buy the big dumper, and you will see why. For your distro yard, you buy the small dumper for the construction yards. Buy the big dumper for the distro yards, for sure. And this one we are going to rename. We don't need closed distribution at this point in the game. You just don't. Your construction yards will handle that if they need anything like that. I am going to. Jesus, what else can you buy? Or rename it. That's kind of stupid, but no, we don't need a covered hull. Not at a distribution yard, not yet. We don't need dry bulk tanks. We don't need more dumpers. We don't need peltry. We have an oil tank. We have an open hull, and this ought to do it. I mean, you don't want to be spending huge amounts of money. You don't even need to fill all these up. It's nice to have spare ones once in a while. You can just basically bulldoze these and put them somewhere else if you need them. You're probably going to spend more on your construction yards. Okay? Not to say that I haven't spent almost 100,000, and I haven't spent anything. Here, you can actually check. 2 days. Nope. Trade. I'll just click the all button. The all button, and we have spent vehicles 82,000. So pretty much every last penny has been vehicles, lots of gasoline. You're going to spend money on vehicles as your startup here. It actually probably ends up being the cheapest way to build anyway. So, I mean, let's get started on the construction yards. Oh, did I set that last one up? No, I didn't. I'm only going to go with the 2 for right now. So we're only going to set those 2 up. And they'll intelligently, figure things out. When you click on the construction yard for the first time, It will basically say that it doesn't know where to get anything and nothing is assigned. The easiest way to fix that is to go like this. And you just run to the border, and you tell it to get everything at the border. If you want to get more specific, for example, gravel pit, for example. But I'm going to start out with just, we need workers. You need a lot of workers. Why need a mechanism? And there are fans of this. If, at the beginning of the game, just go with total capacity. Don't worry about that number. Because, like I said, I think that a lot of this stuff is recyclable. I don't know how else to put it. If you want to go with a smaller one, oh wait, go with the buses. No, we're just looking at buses. So we're looking at capacity. This is actually quite useful at times, but I've found that when you move up to either 40 passengers, which is a good number, or 80 passengers, yeah. So I think at the beginning of the game, you could go with, like, these two buses seem to have the same amount of numbers. It's just that one goes faster on a paved road. Not only paved roads yet. This one carries 80 passengers. That'll get you the workers, right? Workers CO. And in older versions of the game, this wasn't really possible. They didn't have the free construction yards. I generally go with, you don't even need to like point things accurately until you actually buy vehicles for the yards. So I am going to be buying a bulldozer. I'll usually buy a couple of them. Then you're going to buy an excavator. I like to buy a couple of them too. Okay, and that's all. You buy 4 vehicles per construction yard. This is EQCO equipment. Construction office. It doesn't need anything pointed anywhere, I don't think. Because it is cargo, more or less. You'll see that in a minute. We will hit the construction mechanisms on the trucks. And if you go here, you will end up buying the mechanism. I've only done this recently, but when you go to the open halls, this is what I mean technically, you always want to buy all the same stuff. Like this will carry most everything, but it won't carry that giant excavator. The only one at the beginning of the game that will carry the giant excavator and load vehicles on flatbed is this one, 13 tons. It's slow, it's ugly. We're buying for, we are renaming this construction yard. Open CO. And this one we will want to actually be a little bit more specific when we point it. So when you point this one, you will want to point it at, for example, steel. Oh, that didn't work. You will want to point it at, for example, I can't click the buttons. Steel panel open, and that's why it's important to name them. Bricks is one prefab panels. And doors And these, it's not important. They don't deliver that. They only deliver these 4 things. So we're liking that. Okay. The next one is going to be, you guys, things, get your stuff over there, but you get your right over here, and these guys, you can buy aggregates here. So these guys here, you can buy dumpers for an aggregate construction office, and it will, you can buy this one or this one. Beginning of the game, I think for your construction yard, it's good to have a mix. The slower ones are just grabbing mass quantities, and the smaller ones are picking up smaller quantities, still good-sized quantities to deliver in smaller chunks to your projects. So let me just check that. Yes, everything looks good there. Okay, and the reason that this is going to work is because of your distribution yards. Okay, you've only got 2 distribution yards running right now. You don't have your cistern truck running on a distribution yard. You can use a line, and I recommend that because you won't run out. You're going to need all 7 pre-construction yards. Just, you'll see why in a minute, because but we need, we've got dumpers, we've got opens, we need a couple concrete mixers, we need 1 covered hull. You don't need the biggest one. This one, I usually pick them by speed. This one goes 70. And this year's pretty fast. You only need 1 covered hull. You just only need 1. You won't need more than 1. Maybe later in the game, as you get into bigger projects, you can benefit from 2, but it's just, you don't need a lot of high-value stuff delivered to your equipment. Delivered to your construction sites. The electronics is pretty much the only thing missing, and mechanical components are the only things that this thing's going to haul. So we've got open hauls already. Let's add like the road cranes to this office. We are going to call this one and smoking pots. A little bit mixture, covered, crane. I've always been like a finishing CO. And you could probably use. Actually, I'm going to rename it concreting. BCO. We might want to have something a little bit more dedicated over here. We've got 2 rounds. I might buy a second round of dump trucks, but that would be. I bought a road crane. I'd like a second one. And I want a couple pavers. Building. And deliver the mechanisms only with trucks. You don't want to be running some of this stuff out to. So we are going to go to our last construction yard. Usually I'll leave one vehicle spot open in that construction yard just so you don't end up with a situation where you need to sell something or to buy a different machine. We've got rollers, road cranes, pavers, open hauls, excavators, dumpers, covered haul, concrete mixers, bus, bulldozer. I'd go if I were me for more of these. And I'm just going to buy 3 of them and leave it there. And now you'll understand why I made these gasoline why I made those gasoline depots with gas. Trust me, it's fastest this way. If you go to do it. And this one too, I don't think I assigned any resources, even though it does have it's got cranes, pavers, rollers. It doesn't need anything, so you just pointed at the main gate there. Yes, I hit play. So this is all comedy show. Clowns. And it will end up following the lowest common denominator, which I think is going to be There's no rhyme or reason for how things appear. When you click it and it's paused, it just kind of is like spam. But I really want to know where's my oil sister. Oh, way out here in Boone Land. And it kind of happened. So what I'm going to do, pause the game. I'm going to go with the free gas station option. And because it is neat, when you go here, you get the volume, you edit it. Yeah, because I added a gas station here. I am going to add. You know what? This is so specific. I'm just going to delete all the stops. Add a new stop. I'm going to go like this. Unload. And then we're going to go. Like, you need to micromanage that fuel truck at the beginning. There's no real way around it. Load fuel, and here, and go here. And then actually I have another stop. So, usually they don't stop. So it basically is telling me that in spite of the fact that it has fuel on board, it won't go to the station to refuel. So yeah, like I said, this has happened in the past. You sometimes unavoidably need to buy fuel truck. So the way that I do the second fuel truck is I use default number 3. I do vehicle and I would buy an oil tank. This can happen. I kind of figured the lines thing would fix it, but maybe you need to make the lines shorter for that fuel truck at the beginning. It's been an issue of mine. This kind of fixes it a little bit, but we're gonna add these. Everything. Push the gas stations at 80%. How do we at least keep things rolling? Now, like I said, it'll basically figure this out. What I put there is one more fuel truck that is purchased. It has nothing. It's just kind of, yeah. Fuel. I think it's going to try to head home, which is a bad thing. Like I said, this is what happens when you buy all those vehicles at the beginning. They're not perfect, they don't work. You have to figure out the fuel, and nothing that you do gets better. Oh, also, while you're here, since they are doing the piggies, you may as well start your first construction project, which, surprise, surprise, is going to be an actual construction office that's going to be permanent. Pretty big space. And that will be your project. Don't build roads. For God's sake, don't spend anything on roads. Here's that empty cistern. It's going to figure out real fast that it doesn't have any fuel to pick up. That's what I mean. You can get into kind of bork situations. Hopefully, if you're lucky. If I'm lucky, that cistern will go to the distribution yard, run up, and it will be the last thing to get fuel or that's going to happen. No. It's not enough today. Whoa. It went anyways. So on a line, if it runs out of gas, but I'm learning stuff all the time. If it runs out of fuel, then it needs to basically wait until that's filled up. Because when it's on a line, it magically has enough fuel to do what it needs to do. That's out of gas. Yet it doesn't report itself as out of gas because it's on a distribution route. We'll just nod our heads yes and say okay. line is still valuable. Well, anymore, I believe modified it. But basically, as soon as your distribution yard is dropped off its first load of gravel, you'll have some action from your construction yard. And how the construction process basically rolls out is your construction yards will detect that they're able to fulfill one of the needs of the constructions that you put down. I put down the construction office, which is the first thing that you should build if you want to get anywhere fast in this game. And there go my dump trucks, dropping off gravel and asphalt. If they can't get asphalt in the map, they'll go to the border and get it. There's a concreting truck. Concrete, it's got gravel, asphalt, and concrete. And this is all happening based on the fact that I placed this within a kilometer of those construction yards. The construction yards have maximum ranges set, and you can basically set the ranges from 1 kilometer to 3 kilometers, which makes it sometimes necessary for you to move Where's that tanker? What's happening right now? I think we're just waiting on that tanker. And we're all in smoking goods. So, I mean, like at the very beginning, there's a bus that's going to grab some people. And at the border, there are 30 foreign workers. I think as it demand for, like, as you draw more workers, it kind of scales up. So, like, nobody knows if there's jobs here, so nobody comes to look at the job except for those 80 people which just got on the bus. Then there's the brakes. So basically, just by setting things up the way that I've done, you get things going. And I think that this is good enough. I'm going to stop here. And I'm giving you some very, very basic instructions on how to start building anything. But like I said, what I think you should start building is the medium custom house. We'll continue with more of this some other time. I'm gonna have to save this game ads. So, YT. And so there you have it. This is the very beginning of how you set up your republic. And there's a lot more. But let's start here. This is Fear Fighters, Max Drones, 3D printing, gaming, and more. Signing off for the day.